Heartbreak revolution is underway. Step 13 full moon is apexing right as this program goes live on Sunday for the general public. Keep streaming for your soul horoscopes and your emotional weather forecast. Hello, my friends and earthly neighbors. Welcome to Soul Horoscopes and the Emotional Weather Forecast. I am Sensei Christopher Witecki, a 20-year veteran now as the Sensei to Serious Joy. I'm also the guardian channel of the step system for astrology. And I myself am a moon in Leo, so I'm looking forward to this full moon we have coming this week. It's a revolution, we say, when it comes to love. That's because we have a step 13 full moon apexing tonight. If you're watching the show on Sunday when we debut, I'll talk about all 12 signs, what that means for you. We also have some other shifts going on. For instance, Uranus going direct. That's going to be a bit of a jolt. So be prepared for that. We'll talk about where that hits you in your sign. We also have Mercury squaring Uranus, doing some last minute planning changes when it comes to what you're going to construct, what you're going to manifest. And a couple planets will sextile into Chiron, helping you to heal a wounded reputation and figure out where your character actually belongs. It's going to be an exciting time, friends. We are now in the midst of a transformative life I'm calling a second lifetime. And so in this week's Soul Horoscopes, you're going to find out what that means about you and some new features we might have coming out, rolling out, see if you can catch them. But first, a little housekeeping and your emotional weather forecast. If you're watching us on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Serious Joy TV. Please click like on this video. And if you don't mind, hit the bell button so you're notified so we collectively defeat the algorithm overlords. The Serious Joy Nonlinear TV network is simulcasting right now on many media affiliates, including Instagram, X.com, and Facebook, just to name a few. Well, friends, now for the fun part, your soul horoscope and what leads into the soul horoscope. Well, this is where the week, actually, this is where the year begins to get exciting, friends. This is where it starts to really heat up, and it's going to continue to heat up through the end of the year. It's with this week with step 13. We open the week with a 13-degree full moon in Leo. Now, 13 on its own is kind of spicy. It is a grandmaster step of Aquarius. That means that potentially we could see something we've never seen before. You can push the envelope when you have a step 13 net 4 in Aquarius, or any net 4 in Aquarius. And every grandmaster step through the whole Zodiac has special powers, but this one has powers that have been dormant or asleep. In other words, we are awakening to some of our powers. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a crack that opens up a treasure in someone's heart or in their aura. Put simply, this is a time where if you follow what your heart believes, you can have miracles happen, honestly. And if you don't have what your heart believes is true, you might create a miracle just to show or demonstrate to yourself that something needs to change radically now. So as we go through the week, we start off on this 13 volatile degree, and we level up or we break down. You'll either break down minorly because you'll realize something you thought was going to happen will not, or you break through incredibly where something just out of this world arrives and you can't help but say, yes, I belong there. Then as we go through the week, we do have some shifts going on, a lot of play with Chiron. Now, Chiron's at step 22, and on Monday, we have Mercury sextile Chiron, which means our mind thinking about the future and everything we're doing now ties into who we are going to be. So we kind of reconstruct our character, if you will. Then next day, Wednesday, Uranus goes direct. The ruler of Aquarius goes direct after a Grandmaster Aquarius full moon episode. So this is a moment where I think we see the follow through. If there was a crack, it might split open bigger. If there was just a sighting, there might be a sighting of 10. So this might escalate whatever the full moon actually was. Then on Friday, we have Mercury square Uranus. Again, some more tension, but this one probably a bit of an argument between where your mind thinks you belong in the future in society and where your finances or your current production scheme is aiming. So that means you're going to have to find sort of resolution and try to find the best of both worlds. Now, that is the shakeup. But we end the week on step 19, which means you end the week manifesting this new sector of consciousness. And the sector consciousness that we're working on is really where we belong in day-to-day life. Where you belong in day-to-day life is where you do most of your magic. It's where you do also have most of your influence. And if you're a master player on this planet, you basically have to do some sort of connection to reality. So this is the area we say that's going to be the heartbreak revolution. You may have a bit of a heartbreak somewhere in your daily life, but it'll only lead to a revolution, a change where you can only go up and higher. But let's dive into this deeper and learn for all 12 signs in the orders of the states of awareness and the orders of the step system, starting with Scorpio. Hello, Scorpios. Welcome now to a very, very full week. Well, you are working on an Aquarius, your availability to... Hello, Scorpios. Welcome to a very interesting week. Scorpios in the Aquarius energy use that to stay cool at home. You actually pride yourself in having a really cool home and foundation. After all, you have that cool den in the Scorpion sort of perspective, or you have the eagle's nest in the eagle perspective of Scorpio. And this is so that you can really detach from the world and be able to recharge your batteries. Makes sense? But the truth of the matter is you haven't been fully in high awareness when it comes to your vibration. You've been actually going with the same type of home you've had probably since childhood. And you have not really realized that you actually require special care. I know that you think that a lot of your issues are that you haven't been strong enough or been able to guard things off enough or been under too many attacks. But what the astrology shows is that you actually come from a weak vibrational home. Like your home needs to be charged with more love and have a higher perspective and come from a higher place because, frankly, it has to support you that's meant to go higher. Now, the full moon may be a breakdown or a temper tantrum around something around your career. You might find that your buddy gets promoted, but you don't, or someone gets a raise that you don't, or overlooked, something that would trigger you. And this would bring you into a truth about where your heart believes you are here for. In other words, this comes down to what I think your mantra of the week is going to be. My heart has a unique gift for the world. My heart has a unique gift for the world. Scorpios have something very special to give us. They haven't been able to give it to us because they've been brokenhearted with their karma and Pisces in the 5th house. They've come from cold childhoods that really didn't encourage them to grow. And so they've had to do a lot of it on their own. But the world is not ready for you. The only last piece you have to put in is this emotional care piece where you care for yourself as if you already were that success. And I think if you follow what your heart believes is possible, you'll also know what your heart believes is necessary for the self-care. Now, with Uranus stationing direct, it does mean that suddenly your relationship partnerships are going to jolt forward. You've had a stress test on relationships and partnerships for the last few months with Uranus retrograde, and now you've learned everything you need to learn. You know who's on board and who's not, and you're going to move forward now with formal partnerships that will bring strategic power to you that you absolutely do need. One of these issues that will come up, though, is you're going to have to find some sort of balance between your long-term emotional care at home and also your relationship partnership agreements you have, even business partnerships with others. And then the last thing I want to talk about for you is the sextiles all going to Chiron. Mercury and Venus both will sextile Chiron in Aries this week. Now, in Aries, that means it is about your lifestyle. And I think what you're doing is you're going to have an issue around emotional security, basically wanting emotional security or desiring it, and perhaps wanting to relocate or something that's going to lead to a breakthrough in how you see the character of your life. So the caricature of your life, maybe it's a circus right now or a sitcom, that caricature is going to change, but it changes because you are mindful of the fact that you just need better care. And this situation, the way you live day to day, is just simply not suitable. But don't worry, you'll have all the energy necessary. When Saturn joins Neptune in Aries next week, you're going to find that you are strong, you're responsible, and you're ready to do what it takes to change that lifestyle. All right, Scorpios, try not to have too much of a temper tantrum. You're going to get what you want after all. We'll see you next week. Hello, Your Royal Majesty. Welcome back now to a fabulous week in your house of marriage. Well, it looks like with Aquarius energy this week, you're going to have a breakthrough that involves your personality, maybe your defenses, maybe your character, perhaps your ego, and your relationships. So it's a relationship breakdown. What you're going to realize is that your heart believes that you belong in a different vibration of relationship. You basically belong in a long-term relationship that is equal as far as the energy is concerned, of course, but also where the vibe is also in the same place, combined from the same perspective. And I think that Leos, because they're so lovable, they often will accept love from someone that they don't necessarily feel the reciprocation for because they just want the love and they don't want to go without love. They'd rather have some love than no love at all. It's true. You're the sign of love. But I think also what happens is that your ego gets attached sometimes to the power or the visual of you being with that partner. So you kind of like always want that attractive partner. There's kind of a glisten there. And I think Leos sometimes hold on just for those reasons, for the ego, ego potential, the what do you call the selfie opportunities. Now, with that said, this full moon will be in your sign, Leo. So you're going to feel a bit of an ego breakdown. It might be that you just have had enough, you snap. But whatever the case is, you were not following what your heart believes. You were following something else, but it was not what your heart believes. That was the issue. And so what happens is that breakdown of what your heart believes, the revelation of what your heart really believes, then it gives you some, data to rework or reposition the dimension in which you look at relationships altogether. So relationships are about to be reclassified in your order of hierarchy of stuff in a different way. I'm sure I'd like to know what it is. If anyone wants to share, please tell me. I think it's a fascinating topic, and I believe rising, we'll see. Now, Uranus stationing direct is a big deal also because it has been basically putting tremendous amounts of stress tests on you when it comes to your career, it comes to fathering or parenting, and when it comes to being a leader. And so these leadership tests have shown the cracks and where you need to focus on patching things up inside yourself. But now Uranus direct, you are full steam ahead, and it's now time for your full-on career strategy. You're going to be moving forward in a very rapid way with your career strategy. And when Uranus goes into Gemini later this year, you're going to find that you're now going to then rise up to a new level in society. So go full steam ahead. You have a full green light to go forward. And then lastly, when we talk about the sextiles that are going on to Chiron, well, Chiron for you happens to be in your house purpose or your life purpose. And so you've been still transforming the character in which your life purpose will entail. And this is a time where you're going to go through a transformation. In fact, it may be just looking at different issues you have with relationships in general that you realize, but due to the relationships and what comes with them, you're going to maybe change the legacy that you go for, maybe go for something a bit higher. Maybe you underscored or you underrated yourself with that particular person, and now you're going to go back to where you were. But somewhere you were a bit lost and confused about what the next step was when it came to your legacy and what your purpose is. But I think this will be a breakthrough this week with all these things happening. So for the Leos, it's a happy anti-birthday period, I hope, for you. And there's lots more good things to come next week. Hello, Cancers. Welcome to another fabulous week. Aquarius energy for you, the age of Aquarius, innovation, frequency, all revolves around boundaries. You're to use frequency and vibration to determine whether a person is allowed in or not, or dangerous or safe, or use it as a guide to keeping things clean and clear, separating your peas from your carrots on your plate, so to speak. So this week, as we go through this teen degree breakdown, you're going to find that there's probably a money issue, a financial issue that triggers a small fire inside your heart. That's the breakdown. Your heart is disappointed about some sort of value. Maybe you're not paid what you're worth. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe you didn't get the job in the first place. Couldn't make through the third interview. Something happens that will directly hit you in the pocketbook. And it shows that you are looking at money from the wrong philosophy or the wrong approach. This then leads you to realize that you are looking at boundaries from the wrong approach. So maybe there is plenty of money there, but you have this strict rule against that. And so because that rule, you're maybe, closing down on many opportunities you might have. So the full moon will be a bit of a temper tantrum around money or finances or something you've invested in. Could be just even a delayed check. But whatever the case is, it's about boundaries. It's about drawing different boundaries to protect yourself ahead of time, such as get paid up front, or getting paid a deposit, something like that. Now, the other aspect that we were talking about was the Uranus direct has to do with your career. For the last few months, energetically, you probably have found that things have been a little slow and that you haven't really understood your place in the world. You had a lot of breakdown in the social world, social placement, friendships, associations, maybe organizations you belong to. And those are basically tests to see if you were to really be dedicated to those things and really feel like you have the potential to make a difference. Well, now that Uranus is direct, you are getting a full green light. It's time to go forward with your big society plans, whether that's to join, some sort of national charity, or if it's for you to, clean up garbage on the highway, or it's for you to open up your own foundation. But it's time. The universe is cueing you to go forward and start this week. You might get into a little argument this week, however, with yourself and your mind, where you go back and forth about what you're willing to do and what your boundaries are, but what your cause is and how they balance or whatnot. But you'll find, I think, a resolution, no problem. Now, the 3 planets, the 2 sextiles to Chiron this week, have some very important things to understand when it comes to connecting from personal boundaries and transformation, and on the other side, connecting to your potential for this career. Remember I said career earlier. Well, you'll find that your boundaries are what's keeping you from your success. And that if you just change or learn how to be comfortable in a new way, or find new innovative ways to protect yourself in something complex, you might have an opportunity to open up where you end up becoming a character, or I shouldn't say a character, but a title in your career that you never thought you had. So real potential for Cancers to break through whatever glass ceiling they've been in career, but you're gonna have to tinker with and play around with some more different boundaries so you feel more comfortable going forward in that direction. The unknown is not necessarily a bad thing. You just have to have the correct boundaries. All right, Cancer, we'll see you next week. Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome back from a fabulous week and on to an even bigger one. Well, Aquarius energy for you has to do with energy that's very simple to understand, but sometimes complicated to work with, your mind. You have a very innovative and intelligent mind, and you literally mine cool things out of other dimensions and pull them in through the mind. There's capacity to pull through powerful concepts, connect to alien beings. I mean, you wait. Sagittarius are going to be, probably tourists on all kinds of love boats. There may be even spaceships in the future. That's just who you are. You're diplomatic by nature, but you're also very high vibration in your mind. But what you're going to find this week is that you're going to have a breakdown. There's a certain approach your mind is taking that is actually undermining your intentions. And so your mind has a bit of a prejudice or a false approach. And the full moon in Leo will be some sort of a temper tantrum centered around you knowing enough. So you might be, upset because you haven't gone to college like you want to, or go back to college, or someone may, say to your face, you don't know enough to be on this team. Whatever it is, it's a heartfelt breakdown. And you love knowledge, you love exploration, you love travel. So I think out of all the signs, you're going to recover the fastest, and that you're going to be right back on that tourist ship again, ready to go on another cruise. All right. And it comes down to following what your heart believes. If your heart believes you're meant to study this and that and this and that, it has no coincidence, they don't really go together, that's what it is. You'll find out later why they don't go together. You'll find out later why you're fractioned. But if your heart loves the topic you are studying, you are meant to do it. Now, don't forget, you can also, take breaks on things, right? So I think sometimes you might think a little overboard as far as going all out, and you could just dip your foot in, see if you like it, and keep going. You are, after all, already overeducated by spiritual terms. Now, with Uranus stationing direct in Taurus, it means that there are planets moving ahead where there have not been before in regard to daily lifestyle. You're going to make some changes, if you haven't already, to your plans of how to build the perfect lifestyle. And during the course of this week also, there'll be a bit of a square where the mind has to sort of weigh against different criteria and data that compare your lifestyle and ultimately what that will turn into when it comes to how you think and what you think about. So you may find, for instance, that you want a lifestyle that goes against, the way you're perceived in literature. Or you may find that your attitude is really the problem keeping you from your lifestyle. But you have to have that mind and lifestyle on the same course. And then lastly, with the Chiron sextiles, you'll be also thinking about how you think and what you do for thinking and your approach to thinking, and maybe big ideas are coming into play. But you're going to have to also consolidate that with self-love and your personal dreams. You can have a great idea. It can be amazing. You can go after it. But if your heart does not light up, then you're going to find that you have a very difficult time having all dreams come true. This is the one time where the mind has got to be completely behind the inner child. All right, Sag, that's all we have for this week. I'll see you next week. Hello, Aquarius, and welcome now to your birthday period, week number 2. Well, it's going to be a fabulous week for you. Happy birthday. If I haven't said so before, very proud of how you've come along. For you this week, it has to do with breakthrough in your personality and your behavior. See, you are not really behaving the way your heart believes you should. You are doing it according to the way you should of society standards, but not based on your heart standards. And so as a result, there might be a little bit of a temper tantrum or a breakdown in a long-term relationship with that full moon in Leo. Could be a total showers, chance of anger, but it will leave you understanding where you belong in relationships altogether and how they are tied to a personality change. So expect to make an innovation in your personality, which is going to lead to a shift in your relationships and the roles that you play in all of your relationships. It sounds like saying chips. Now, that said, Uranus direct for you is a big deal because it means that home family life is now going to move forward. If you were, for instance, considering building a home before COVID and then stopped, or perhaps you've been wanting to move closer to family or get the hell out of Dodge away from family, but you're basically aiming for a construction project that makes you feel priceless at home. It's very important to feel priceless at home because ultimately you must feel priceless when you're out working with your subjects or with your students and clients. Now, that interesting part about that with the home is that it's also tied to having to square it off and rationalize it when it comes to your ego. So your ego may want a lot, but that's not very comfortable, or your ego may want the super comfortable, but it's not for good value. So it's back and forth really between your home and your nurturing, and also your mind's thoughts about it and your ego's thoughts about it. And then lastly, when we have these sextiles going off to Chiron, this will be a connection from your higher personality. So your automatic performing self, your person on stage, is going to get into a bit of an argument, or at least a deep conversation with the part of you that deals ultimately with your thoughts. So your mind and your ego get into a bit of a conflict. And what you need to realize is that your mind ultimately must support your ego. Your ego is step 9. Your mind is step 5. As long as your mind is separating from the heart and serving the heart, then the mind can also be at service to the ego. It's when the mind no longer carries the love that there's a real problem. All right, Aqua, happy birthday. I hope you get a unicorn. I'll see you next week. Hello to the Geminis, and so am I. Aquarius is going to be an interesting time for you because you are now finding a higher life purpose. Overall, that is what Aquarius is for you, is to discover the truth of reality. Because if anyone is stuck in the dogma of what is, it's Gemini and their thinking. You literally are about us memorizing and keeping things on a certain mental track. But the universe says it's time to innovate the way you believe and how you believe. And that means you're going to have to innovate your mouth. The full moon is going to be some sort of a breakdown, probably saying something that you shouldn't have said, loose lips, sinking ships, that sort of thing, or perhaps just killing you on the inside. You have to keep your mouth closed when you really want to speak your true opinion. You might be stuck at an in-law family function, for instance, and not be able to talk about the truth about what you believe because you don't want to upset the in-laws, something like that. But the breakdown will mean just that. It will mean that you will have to let it out. You'll have to speak and communicate to what your heart believes. And this leads to your weekly mantra, which is, my heart believes I have the most interesting things to say. My heart believes I have the most interesting things to say. And that's true. You do believe that. And you are true. You are the one to say it. So as we move into the Uranus direct, it means that you now must take faith into your own hands. You've been tested on faith and had a lot of stress tests on faith. Is God going to drop me? Do I have bad karma? Do I have something coming at me? Can I really believe in this feeling I have that everything will be okay? Or do I need to think about it over and over again? And so now that Uranus is direct, you must now take upon that faith, move forward with that faith, and step out like the Fool card, into the unknown. No matter what your mind may question, you must have that faith now. Now, that will be tested this week, particularly when it comes to a belief structure or a life purpose. You might have to make a choice about an education or a trip, a choice about, like something you're going to minor in or major in college. And that choice will be very much having to tie to your spiritual mission while you feel like you're here. And in some cases, you'll have to go above and beyond and say, better than schools because you know your spiritual mission. And it really maybe is something you're going to bring to the world. So how would the schools even know it? Then we also have our Chiron sextile that's going on, as I said earlier this week, with Mercury and Venus. And this will be one more conversation you have when it comes to the details of moving forward with your life purpose or your education or the knowledge you want to share with the world. And what it's basically saying is that you have to coordinate that with the rebuilding of your character in public. So you're going to reinvent yourself in public. You're going to give yourself a new title. You're going to realize you belong in a different sector of public. Maybe you belong in the opposite side that you were before, or maybe you belong representing both sides. But there's a breakthrough in how you see your character in public, your public persona, and it's because it relates to something you've changed in your life purpose or your knowledge. So it's a very theoretical week, but theoretically, it's going to change your whole life. See you next week, Gemini. Hello, Libra. Welcome now to the second week of Aquarius. Well, Aquarius, if you don't know, is your house of love. You're meant to have very unique love. And that makes sense, actually, because if you are the masters of relationships, then you probably have the most bizarre and unique love affairs, right? Because you've been there, done that so many times. But strangely enough, when you go reaching for that sugar, you often go for the plain old sugar. You don't really go for what your heart believes you deserve. And so this full moon is actually going to be a bit of a trick in the sense that the full moon will be a breakdown when it comes to your reputation in society. You may be disrespected. You may be, lose an election, of a district or something, or perhaps you'll be voted down off something. Perhaps you will actually be elected to something you're afraid of or called to do something that you're afraid of. But there'll be a sudden emotional breakdown, quick one, like a fear fest or a cry spell around your friendships, your reputation, your social media, your world. But what has to happen is that your level of love that you're going for in the first place must be higher. You're getting let down because you are starting low. You're lowballing yourself. You're not giving yourself what your heart really believes you deserve. And maybe you're thinking you'll be rejected, and that's why you're not doing it. But if you love yourself out there in society, then they'll love you too. So I think the breakthrough is that you're going to innovate really what love is. Innovate creativity, innovate your perspective on parenting children, innovate your perspective on romance even, what a romance is and what a romance isn't. That's going to be the big breakthrough that takes you to a higher level. Now, with Taurus and Uranus now going direct, you're going to find that you've been tested a lot when it comes to boundaries the last few months. Lots of breakdowns around trying to change and not being able to change or resisting the change, resisting so long until you get hurt or you get in a car accident, something like that. But now the Uranus is direct, it says it's time to do it. It's time to rip the Band-Aid off and jump in that cold water. Just do it and make the transformation as fast as you can. Then lastly, the trines into Chiron. Chiron's into your, of course, healing long-term relationships. And what this says is that you must now coordinate your mind and your openness when it comes to love and creativity with the healing of partnerships in general. That it's going to take a little extra creativity, a little extra unique to bring your long-term partnerships and strategies on board for the long term. But I do think you're going to break through and become a new kind of person in marriage and new kind of person in partnership. It's going to be exciting. All right, Libra, that's all for this week. I'll see you next week. Pisces, welcome to another fabulous week. Well, Aquarius, for you, if you don't know, is your faith. And yes, if you haven't put that together yet, it means that since we have been quiet and disconnected from Aquarius, that you have been quiet and disconnected from God. It's true, actually. Pisces are naturally connected to spirit, but they do not pay attention to it until now. It's now time to innovate your relationship to spirit and take your daily practice of spirituality to a higher level. You need to operate now at a higher level when it comes to psychic ability, dreams, any type of work in the other realm. Now, this will probably be triggered by some sort of a breakdown in life. It looks like the full moon will be some sort of a breakdown of equipment, life, the ability to go to work. Maybe you run out of gas. Maybe your city doesn't have electricity. Something breaks down that makes you sit there at home and do nothing but think about God and think about your faith in life and call for you to find that part of you that knows everything will be all right. So you could say that Pisces is becoming even more Piscified, if you will. Now, Uranus going direct is a big deal for you as well because it's in your house of thinking. And for the last few weeks, months really, you've been tested on some ideas that you have. You've been sort of maybe stress tested on some sort of concepts you carry. And the world did not really want you to go forward with a certain type of thinking. And so you had to really stress test this out. And now that Uranus is direct, it is time to go. As long as your thinking is in line with your spiritual faith, you'll be on the right page and you will find yourself belonging in a new voice. In fact, you're probably going to discover a new mental voice, so to speak, or a new quality of voice that's tied to spirit. And then lastly, the two planets that are going to be trining into our Chiron, sextiling into Chiron this week, and that is Mercury and Venus, means that you're also going to be thinking about and your openness to God and how it relates ultimately to your ability to make money. No kidding. So you're going to find that there's absolute connection to staying open to God and also making yourself a more valuable person. Now, it may be simply a direct lesson. In other words, you may realize that, hey, when I'm more open to God, I'm more forgiving of myself. When I'm more forgiving, so are my debt collectors. Seriously. It may be something quite literal like that. Or when I realize the abundance of God, I realize the abundance of my potential financially. But be looking for a healing when it comes to your self-worth as it relates to manifesting the money. All right, that's all I have for this week. I'll see you next week. Captains, welcome now to another week of Aquarius. Did you know that Aquarius for you is the energy of innovation of money and finance? And yet you are known as the conservative ones in the Zodiac. Well, not anymore. In the age of Aquarius, you are the daring investors. You are the innovators. You are the ones who take it to the highest level. But I think you're going to have to first break whatever red tape or seal you have when it comes to your boundaries. That full moon in Leo is going to be a breakdown over an emotional boundary. That might be that you realized money was taken from you, or you lost out on making money, or somewhere where you had the boundary, not where you believed it should be, but you're doing it because you want to be overly cautious or overly conservative. If you asked your heart what you really believed, it would have actually done it differently, but you didn't, and you probably lost out, or you saw that you could have made more. Either way, it's not a crisis, it's a breakthrough. And so that full moon is going to be a bit of a temper tantrum that your heart doesn't get what it wants, but then you're going to realize that you realize, and that's all you need to realize is that you do, right? So with that said, it's going to be an innovation of your personal integrity around an innovation around boundaries and finances and investments. Now, your mantra for the week, I think that brings us all around to this is, my heart believes I belong transforming myself. My heart believes I belong transforming myself. That's the truth. If you believe you belong transforming yourself, that you don't belong being that same mountain you were when you were born, I think you'll have the flexibility to draw in that money and abundance or opportunity you're looking for. Now, with Taurus and the energy of Uranus stationing direct, it means that you must also now move forward with personal dreams. The universe doesn't just want Capricorns that are wealthy, they want wealthy and happy, okay? It has to go together. That's how the new wealth is. And so you've been tested on and had a lot of breakdowns and things breaking apart around maybe romances or a personal dream or some sort of path you want to take or a dream vacation, anything that revolves around your heart's desires and your serious joy. But the universe is saying you now know enough. Go for it. Go straight for it and do not pass go and do not collect $200. And then lastly, the Chiron trines, or sextiles rather, to Mercury and Venus. Well, you're also thinking about big long-term picture plans for abundance, maybe purchasing something, maybe selling something. But the universe is saying you must turn that into Aries, which means you must actually look at how it will affect your long-term emotional security. How will it affect the character of what security is? And that's probably what has to change. The character of security must change because the character has been based, I think, only on finances, but has been based on necessarily comfort. And so this even underscores one more time the mantra of my heart believes I belong, transforming myself. We'll see you next week, Capricorn, hopefully just a little different. The second week of Aquarius for you has to do with your relationship with society overall. So blue collar, white collar, retired, empty nester, newlyweds. These are all titles we sort of take and roles we sort of play in day-to-day life of our society. And so what's happening is you are innovating and taking to another level where you belong in that structure. So like the Jeffersons, you are moving on up energetically. But the reason why this may happen could be due to a major inner child breakdown, temper tantrum, around something your heart did not get that it wanted. It could be that you lose something close to you. It could be that you lose an object that you dearly cherish. It could be you missed an opportunity. Or it could be that you have an opportunity coming. You're just beside yourself worried about how to say yes. Either way, it's the same answer. Your heart believes you belong with that greater love. And this leads us to our mantra for the week. I believe I belong, having silly dreams come true. I believe I belong, having the silliest of dreams come true. Now, I say silly because that's how your ego would put it in the past. Not worth your time, kind of silly. But that's like everyone else. You have to have the fun stuff and the rainbow sherbet and all the glitter that you need to have as your inner child is requiring. Now, that said, when it comes to acquiring, Uranus direct means that a lot of the tests and the stress tests that you've had on your finances are now over. Thank God. Hopefully, you've reconstructed your plans for wealth and abundance. And now with Uranus direct at step 27, it's a universe saying for you, go for it. Put all your money on a bull market and go for it now. Now, don't forget, though, however, with Mercury in Aquarius, to make sure that you are coordinating by the end of the week your character and the direction you're going for in society with the investments you're making. You don't want to invest outside of where you're heading. Lastly, we have those Chiron sextiles to Mercury and Venus this week. And this will be some more coordination as well. But the coordination will be kind of similar as to what I just said, that your place in society has to also be coordinated with your character you play moment to moment. So in other words, you want to make sure that the title and the costume and even the haircut match what you're going for in society. May sound overly simple, but I bet you'll find a deep application to that this week. Hey, Taurus, welcome back. It's now Aquarius season. And for you, that means innovation of your career and your legacy plans. And you may or may not know this, but you are here to make a career out of the age of Aquarius. You are the innovators by nature of being the manifestors. Obviously, when we manifest, we always manifest something better, right? Well, it's time to manifest. And one thing you're going to find is that you are not well enough supported at home, that your emotional foundation at home is not with enough love, that you don't have enough love coming back, or all the love's going out, or maybe even your property that you're staying on right now is not deserving of you. You deserve something greater. So there might be a breakdown around a home family situation or a roommate situation, only to lead to a breakthrough of understanding what you actually need with love. And this brings us to this week's mantra. I believe I belong with the most loving family God provides. Let's add home onto that. I believe I belong with the most loving home and family God provides. Moo, 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 a moo. That's a good one, a moo. That'll be a good one for the year. Now, that said, career innovation is a big part of it, of course, but also Uranus goes direct in your sign. Thank God it's almost leaving. Uranus is going to be at step 27. It means it's time to go. You have analyzed your character to death. Now just play the role. If you feel it and you sense it, then you do it. Go forward with all character plans, including promotion of self, says the universe. Just make sure coordinating it with, of course, your career. And then lastly, we have Mercury and Venus sextiling into Chiron at 22 Aries. And for you, that's in the 12th house. That means that you are coordinating also career legacy strategy with your overall faith in God and the universe. That you are going to realize that you play a different role for spirit or a different role for God than you once thought. You might have thought it was a jackass. No, it's the bull. Either way, I'll see you next week, Taurus, as your career goes flying. Hello, Virgo. Welcome now to Aquarius, part 2. Aquarius for you is daily life. Did you know that you're supposed to live like the age of Aquarius already? Hadn't you seen you were already the most innovative person when it came to getting things done, finding ways to fix things that no one else found, being efficient with the resources you have? So Aquarius in the 6th house is what that is. But a lot of it's been dormant in the sleep, and you have not even realized your potential. Well, a full moon might cause you to realize it, because this full moon is going to hit you right where it hurts, the pocket of faith. You might have a minor breakdown in your faith in life. That wouldn't be the first time, admit it, but that's okay. It's going to break through, and you're going to realize that you have to have more love coming from yourself, more self-love, and greater connection to spirit. You're going to realize that you need to be more in love with spirit so you can be soothed in the time that human beings let you down, those damn muggles. And so those lead to a new belief about yourself and what you belong with. And this is your statement for the week. I believe my heart belongs protected by God. I believe my heart belongs protected by God. That's true. You do believe that, don't you? But are you acting on it? Now, Uranus direct in Taurus means it's time to go forward with your personal dreams. Is this true? Virgo's having faith and personal dreams in the same week? No way. Yes way. It's called the Age of Aquarius. And it's time to go forward. So there's nothing else to do. Don't worry about breakdowns. Don't worry about tests. You've had all the stress tests that you will have when it comes to a love affair or a personal dream or a serious joy, some big diamond thing you're manifesting, whatever. The heart's big picture, it will not be tested any further. In fact, the universe is saying, go, 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 go. Run, Forrest, run like the wind. Go for what your heart wants now. And then we have those Chiron sextiles going from Mercury and Venus in Aquarius over to Chiron at 22 Aries. Now, for you, this means that you must now also connect your lifestyle to personal boundaries. Part of your lifestyle is because you have these hard-coded boundaries that you're inflexible about. But if you become more emotionally compassionate to yourself and more forgiving, maybe you'll have the lifestyle, because maybe you'll be a bit more liquid in your ability to transform. Give it a try. Even a Virgo can learn new tricks. I'll see you next week. Well, that's all we have time for today, this week, friends. But I do want to say this is the start of what I call a second lifetime. I believe we're going to have an entirely second lifetime that starts really with this full moon on the Sunday, if you're watching when we go debut. And that also means that you need to have a map for the road coming ahead, and that is the Countdown 2026 webinar. I've outlined in my webinar, which is available for immediate download and immediate purchasing and watching, the entire script for this year. And it's weird. It's zigzaggy. It is not a straight line. There's a lot of ins and outs, and I have a new way of talking about dates called Way Dates. You don't want to miss it. It's available right now at newyears.guru. Now, while you're there, you might also consider a new calendar system we have come out with called the Enchanted Step Calendar. This is every enchanted date you need to plan, to manifest, and materialize your life. Zipped right into whatever calendar system you use, whether it's iCal or Windows or anything else. That's also available at newyears.guru. And lastly, you might want to know one more thing. I'm now booking for diamond sessions. I have a little video on the site that talks about what a diamond session is. Many people going for their heart's dreams. I'd like to help you get there. Until next week, I love you. Live, love, be. Serious Joy Academy is now offering gift certificates called Gifted Scholarships in 6-month, 9-month, and 1-year increments. This is the first time we've ever offered this. Serious Joy is the most accurate astrology service in the world. And now you can stun your loved ones with a spiritual mirror that helps them every day. Visit seriousjoy.academy to make your purchase. That's seriousjoy.academy. Available now.